guy.
It's another band. All the Mars and cars now, with your bag it up. Light up my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flicks me a bag it up. So, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
Evening, guys. Welcome to episode 1 of the review show with myself, CJ Spate, my main man Eric ERF at the top, and my main man Ricky on the other side there. We're splitting the shows, something a little bit different, so we can squeeze in a bit more of everything really. Instead of spending a full show reviewing, we're going to do that tonight, and then on this Thursday show, we'll carry on and pick up some different topics. How are we doing, boys? Everyone all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm excited to get into this weekend review. There's a few fights, especially undercards. There's a couple of fights what I managed to catch. I didn't catch them all. I had to look back at a couple today as well. So we'll see what we all made of this weekend's card, because for 2 shows, Saturday and Sunday, a full weekend of boxing, you can't complain, really.
No, you can't. And it was a good show, no, to be fair.
Fantastic weekend. Fantastic.
Neglected media again, didn't it? But one that for me really needed media coverage with Dalton Smith, who was on the uprise.
Yeah, that.
We said this on the last show.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. On the last show, we said it that shows aren't getting promoted properly. I think people are missing out. Genuinely, the amount of people that I had say to me, certainly the Sunday show, what, that's on the Sunday? They all thought it was maybe the same show. I don't know. So yeah, some great boxing over the weekend, though, boys. Yeah,
there were, and you think as well with Dalton Smith being like a future potential star in the lightweight division, that he would have got that coverage. You know, you want to be building this guy now to be selling out not just 2,000-seated stadium arenas, but moving on to the biggest arenas and stadiums. Do you know what I mean? So it's like he's potentially coming in line for a title shot. For me, it's time to build him now and get those fights in and really build a profile for him and build like a prolific name in Yorkshire.
Yeah, I feel like before the whole investment from Turkey and the Ring Magazine cards and stuff like that, I think Dalton would have been definitely a fighter. What Eddie would have been pushing it a lot more than what he is right now. I think at the beginning, Eddie was happy to push him. But now, like I said, I don't know whether it's a thing to do with getting so many fight cards that the promoters themselves are spread thin with what shows they're at, what shows they're prioritising. You've got to think Eddie's got Dalton Smith the weekend just gone. He's got Conor Benn, who's a bigger investment for him, let's say. Well, he's invested in that. He's invested in stuff going on in America, in Saudi. There's so much going on that I think these fighters like Dalton and that are getting overlooked a little bit until you sort of fight week. But even the fight week for this one, it wasn't really massive. There wasn't too much hearing about. Obviously, the Conor Benn and Eubank is picking up today because they had grand rivals. But yet again, you're not hearing much else apart from that.
No, I agree. It's another one where it's one of the biggest fights in the UK as well. So, like I say, you'd think there'd be more profile, more just bigger build up like what they used to do back in the day when these fights used to start. I know it's a start stadium show, but like the media coverage, it's nowhere near as hostile. I know obviously they're trying to avoid certain things happening before the fight, but you think it'd be everywhere. Like I don't understand like newspapers and that all cover it, but you'd want it on banners. You want it. I'd want that fight everywhere, like everywhere. As much I'd want to see Eubank's face everywhere I can go. So I'm just trying to share. Do we need to do the sponsors?
Yeah, we'll do. Before we get into the review, we'll go. We'll do the Do Rock clothing sponsor. I'll get it out. Here's the promo video.
Oh, mate, I thought we were going to forget, then.
I had completely forgot about that, to be fair.
I like talking. I'm thinking, we're going to end up fucking cracking on. He'll have to do a sponsor.
Yeah.
It's the first one, lads. We're allowed some mistakes, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's it. So if we want to crack on, then let's get into it.
Yeah, which is the first fight we're going with?
I want to start with. I don't know if many people caught the prelims, but one guy that did really shine for me in the prelim show was Vicioli. Now this kid is 22 years old. Now he was very impressive. He picked his shots well. He was dominant. He was aggressive. He boxed well. He was sharp. Everything he did had a mean intent, and I think he took that Kane Barker out in the 4th round. But I really like the look of this kid, and for 22 years old, with the confidence he had in his ability and his work, I think he's one for the future. Definitely to look out for on future main cards as well, rather than just prelims.
Yeah,
I thought Vizio was fantastic. I know Kane Baker's had some losses in his career. He's obviously he was definitely pipped at one point with match one. He was given a lot of chances. He did himself some good favours. He had a couple of decent wins in there as well. But I think from looking at his past few fights, I know I watched him box Michael Gomez Jr. I think what Vicioli did to him, not many people have done to him. Just completely outphased him, outworked him. The power were there, the speed were there. I'd definitely say Vicioli's one for our future, if that makes sense. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. Clearly, Eddie's taking a shine to him. I think he'll be a real big name in the future. Real big name. Was it Repton he's from as well? Was he a Repton boy?
I'm not too sure.
I'm not too sure
where he's from.
It's one. To be fair, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the first fights I've seen him at. He came out, quite big, quite long arms. He really looks the part as well. I'm excited to watch him in future fights and future bouts as well, if I'm honest. So yeah.
Yeah, not too much more to add to that, really.
No.
I caught the highlights of it. It was obviously Kane Barker getting stopped, but Kane's one of those fighters who probably survived. His career thrived in lockdown, and then he sort of got a career from being on them lockdown shows, and he's been in there with quite a few young guys coming through to be that tester, that sort of gatekeeper to see if they're any good. And he always puts in a shift Kane Barker, but at this point it's sort of like you've got past him. You're expected to get past the Kane Barker now if you're going to be on prelims and undercards. Yeah. You're expected to get past a guy like that. So for me, I'm waiting to see what he does next. I'll keep a close eye on what he does anyway, because he does look good, and Kane Barker's a decent name.
Yeah, it is. So moving on, the first fight of the actual main card was Ryan Kelly against short notice opponent. I don't know how to say his name. Keem Aguilar.
I had no idea how to pronounce that first name.
but the interesting one, Ajako, yeah. So the interesting thing was obviously Ishmael Davis was supposed to be the original opponent, who was normally the short notice opponent. Like when he came up against Josh Kelly, and he actually put a very good performance up against him. And he actually got the nod. So it's not very often that a short notice opponent comes up and actually takes it to the favourite, the champion at the time, and gets the victory. He came out. He came out. He looked strong. His shots were strong. He had fast hands. He boxed well. I thought Kelly put up a good fight, and it was a close fight. I mean, I think it was a majority decision. So one judge scored a draw. But
one was a draw. 95. To be quite honest with you, I had Ajako winning by a round. It could have been a draw. I could see. I think was we messaging through it, Ricky. I think it said I wouldn't be surprised if it was wide either. Like there was a wide card either side, because it was one of those fights where you could see what Kelly was doing, but Ajako was landing like the cleaner shots, the hurting shots. You could see that, whereas Kelly was working a lot. He had a lot. His work rate was really high. So for me, I wouldn't have been surprised to see one judge give it Kelly quite wide, one judge give it Ajako, and then even the draw didn't surprise me at all. But yeah, all in all, it was a good fight. It was a really good fight, especially for a short notice opponent.
Yeah, and I think there was some confusion. So I thought because I think it was like the 5th round where Ajako he gets cut, and in the corner he looked a bit frustrated, a bit angry, a bit like he elbowed me, complaining. So I kind of thought that might have changed the momentum a little bit of the fight, but it didn't. It came out pretty strong. He stuck to his boxing, he stuck to his game plan, and he had a very good performance, in my opinion, for someone that was short notice is what he is. And that's why, as me and CJ have been at St. Peter's, it's important to stay fit at all times in boxing.
Yeah.
So CJ, what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, 100%. Just to go back on that, mate. Staying fit, we've seen it firsthand. We've been lucky enough to be in and around some fantastic fighters. Padley being one of them. Obviously, we'll get to him later on the show. Staying fit all the time, and that phone rings. And if you've got a good management team around you, the world's your oyster. Kelly. I thought Kelly's footwork at the start. I don't mean fantastic footwork like Lomachenko, but he was making the angles right. He was cutting down the ring brilliantly. Second, third, fourth, maybe, and then it slowed down at the end. I do think if he'd have kept that up, and he kept putting Ajako where he wanted him, it could have made a difference in the fight. But he did seem to stop with that. Maybe that's just the pressure. I mean, Kieran was coming on really strong throughout some points of that fight, and like you say, the frustration after the cut. I think he was like saying it was a fucking elbow that caught me. It didn't change him, didn't phase him. He was dabbing a little bit, but other than that, it was just a brilliant fight all round. I thought it was very close. Rico, big up, my man.
Big up, Rico. Yes. Yeah. So let's move on. So next up, we had Josh Padley, the lad from Doncaster, the electrician, as Shakur Stevenson likes to call him. What a performance, boys. Honestly, what a performance by that man. He came out, his timing on point straight away, he was punch perfect. He had mean shots against a bigger, unknown fighter in that Marco Saventinovic.
I can't say like that. I can't say the last name.
No, but 13-0, so he undefeated for our reason. But Josh Padley faultless in my opinion. What a matchroom debut, takes the belt home as well. Much thoroughly deserves it. It's nice to see him bounce back from that Shakur Stevenson loss. I know that we're only on 3 days' notice, which is obviously why it's important to stay fit, because you get those chances, you get those opportunities, and he fucking took it.
Yeah, Padley. Go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll go.
No, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, for me, Padley's performance was a punch perfect performance. I thought his movement. I picked Padley on points in the prediction league, but literally, I think a minute into the first round, I messaged Ricky and I was like, he's gonna stop him. He's gonna stop him because you could see it looked from the get-go that Padley's shots was hurting him. I think the first couple of shots he landed, his opponent sort of he reacted. Gave a massive reaction, but Padley stayed composed. He stayed very professional. Didn't get ahead of himself. Kept his shots flowing. Really good body work. And he put a stamp on it at the end by getting the stoppage as well. A great, like you said, great matchroom debut. You can't fault that. It's exactly what you want in coming off of that Shakur performance, because he got a lot of praise for that, rightfully so. But also, you've got to do something with that praise and that new fanfare you've built off of a loss. You've got to capitalise on that, and I think that performance there was probably the perfect thing for him.
Yeah, 100%. Padley, I remember him coming into the gym. I remember Jason telling me that there was a fighter coming to maybe move to this gym. When he came in, Christ, I remember him from amateurs, and I actually judged him in the Yorkshire Championship. So years and years ago, that man, you're probably talking like maybe 13 years ago, something like that. Anyway, and he came in on this first time, and he was sparring Lewis Sylvester. They had a right tear up, and I just remember the first thing noticing about Paddy was his ferocity, his aggression. He's like a little Mexican when he gets going. He can really let his hands go, and he really lets them go with venom. He's a predator. He can really finish his guys. Like he's one of those fellas that just, when he smells the blood, he jumps on. And it's good to see that. It really is good to see. We all commented on Delicious the other week. You know, there was no fire in there. There was no venom.
No.
If Paddy gets you hurt, he's jumping up and down on you. And it looks as if Paddy's always going to be the smaller man, whoever he boxes, and it just doesn't seem to make a difference. He grows in confidence and he grows in size when he's in that ring. I'm really looking forward to what's next for him. I did love Eddie hinting at that Josh Warrington fight. I mean, I don't know what you two think of that. I think that could be massive.
No. Yeah. For Padley it would be, yeah, but I think Padley doesn't go Warrington personally. Yeah.
Josh ain't taking it. I'm telling you, Josh's next fight. Well, we'll get on to Josh anyway.
I've got a
get on to Josh.
Is that a fear for that?
Is that who's next?
That's who's next, gents. Yeah. So we've got Josh Warrington against Asad Khan in the 10-round featherweight contest. Bit of a redemption, resurgence in hoping to try and rebuild Josh Warrington's career, especially after coming off of 3 losses back to back. And him looking for that performance. Last time we saw him out there, he laid his gloves down in the middle of the ring, and we thought that was it. That was, goodbye to the Leeds Warrior. But he looked like he got back into the gym. He started punching the bags, working. He felt like he had a bit more to give. Now, he was a level above Khan. I don't think it would have been the performance you were looking for. Khan, very messy. At first, you sort of saw what Khan were trying to do, trying to keep, catch Warrington coming in. I felt like towards the end, though, he was just making it scruffy. He was just holding, he was ruining it. I think in that spit his gum shield that a couple of times and all, weren't he? He got a point deducted.
I think he did it 2 or 3 times.
CJ's gone missing. But yeah, no, so
there I am, lads.
a couple of knockdowns. And overall dominant performance, but just not the performance that we were expecting. I didn't know what we expected really. And now, before we get on to it, while I'm on the subject, Asad Khan was a former Michael Conlon opponent, and the commentary team kept making declarations about Conlon being in the crowd. I don't know if is that something that they're trying to build up. Maybe is that a fight for the future too? And they're both sort of past it. They're both on the back ends in the twilight zones.
That's what I thought, mate.
That's
what I picked up as well, mate. It was constant Conlon.
I think.
Yeah. So
I mean,
go on, CJ.
Go on, man.
No, go on.
That's what I picked up, mate. That's what I picked up, that it was constant. I'm here, mate. Look, I'm not looking too pretty tonight, mate, so they're blacking me out. Don't you worry. I know what they're doing, Connor. I know what they're doing. Conlon, I think Conlon and Warrington, like you said, Rick, they are both on the decline. I think Warrington's. Hey, hello there, guys. I think Warrington's well and truly past his best. And I think they're trying to keep them both relevant without disrespecting both, fantastic athletes in the day. I think that's all that there is to offer. They are, what's that saying? It's high risk, low reward. And to be fair, I don't even think either of them are that high risk anymore. The Conlon fight is what I think's on the cards, unless Eddie was trying to tickle everybody with the Padley fight for Warrington. Again, just like you said, I think he jumps up and down on him all over. It were a scrappy fight. I didn't enjoy it. The spit in the gum shield came a bit tedious. One of them when he starts saying things like that. No one likes to say it. He complained a lot. He kept pointing to the back of his head a lot, and it was just a bit of a mess. And Josh has always been rough and tough and scrappy. It's now getting to the point of thank you, mate. Thank you. My mum says I'm still gorgeous, so that's all that matters. But yeah, it got so scrappy with Josh and Khan. It just got unenjoyable towards the end of that fight.
Yeah, it was for me. That fight, Josh should have stopped him like inside 4 or 5 rounds. I think Josh had him hurt a few times. He just couldn't put that finish on him. It sort of got the same every round. The same thing was happening over and over and over again. Josh Warrington isn't the most exciting fighter to watch anyway, to be honest with you. But for me, he pulled out the win. I think he won just about every round. Did he drop him once or twice? I'm sure he dropped him
twice. I think it.
It was one of them fights that I was sort of just going through the motions watching it, because it was clear to see that Josh was too good for Khan. He was way too good for him. Even at the stage Josh is at right now in his career, he hasn't really got that much left. Like you two were saying, a Conlon fight, is that a big fight? Where does it happen? Does it happen in Leeds? Does it happen in Belfast? Like, I don't. They don't have the same. They don't really have the same fan base they used to. Like, I know, obviously, Josh still has like Leeds fans and that, but it's not the same no more. They're not going to fights no more expecting Josh to win. And I was at the Lee Wood fight, and
I was there. No.
There. I was at Lee Wood fight, and I was sat near Leeds fans, and I probably was the only person that wanted Lee Wood to win. I was around there.
I was cheering for Warrington, and do you know what? To be fair, I kind of thought Warrington did really well in that fight.
He did do well in that fight,
until the stoppage. I think he rebounded it a bit.
I was saying to my pal, I was just like, Josh is letting his hand go, but he's staying in too long. Lee might catch him. If he stays in too long with these combinations, he's going to get caught. And I think a couple of rounds later, he got caught. He turned around to me and I said, I told you, he was getting too confident. He was getting way too confident. And Lee Wood can punch. And if one thing he can do is punch. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I think Conlon, like you said, go on.
No, go on. We're done with that one. So you can finish up.
Conlon losing to Lopez, then Jordan Gill. So, like you said, that's it. To say Khan's the only opponent now that they've both beat as of recent, it's where do they even go from there though? Unless that is the last fight that they have together. Where does he even go? Neither of them's at world title level. Neither of them's even.
It's a Khan Brook fight.
It's a Khan Brook fight, absolutely.
I definitely think it's just it's to give two warriors that have served the time one more payday. I don't think it's a main event show, but I think it could be on a decent undercard for maybe a big fight in the future.
The crazy thing is that you say that they served this time. I don't think Michael Conlon has done anything as a professional. I think he's been so disappointing as a professional. The way he came out of the amateurs, Top Rank signed him. He was meant to be this next big thing. And every time he has stepped up, he's come up short. Every
Yeah.
single time he's stepped up, and he's been fast tracked to get stepped up as well every time.
Yeah, really
Was
been
it-
relevant
was it
since
Conlon
his
that did
middle
the
fingers.
fuck Aiba?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fucking
That's it. Yeah,
the
yeah.
judges.
Fuck
Yeah.
Aiba.
When they were robbed.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
dear.
he's had kind of a disappointing. Josh Warrington, he's served his dues. You know what I mean? Josh Warrington has been through the levels. He's reached the top. He's been a world champion, 2-time world champion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If he has one more fight, the Conlon fight, have it and bow out. I don't really want to see him do. There's not much I believe he can do anymore in boxing.
No.
And at the level he wants to be fighting for and the money he wants to be fighting for, it's going to be hard days at the office getting beat up.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, we'll move on to the main event then, which saw Dalton Smith against Matthew. Is it Matthew? Jermaine? I need to get better with these fucking names, me. But that was 12 rounds step up, supposed step up fight.
It's that Donny accent,
but-
isn't it?
Yeah. Fucking hell. But yeah, this was the step up fight for Dalton Smith to see him sort of maybe come of age. It started off very impressive. I thought, he were catching Jermaine. He hurt him big time. I think it was the second round with a big shot, a couple of times throughout the fight, and even towards the low blow. That one there. I just kind of thought once the second round had been and gone, and he dropped in the first time, it sort of Jermaine sort of ruined the fight. It rumored that he broke his jaw in that second round, and that's why. But there was, after that first round away, we looked like we were trying to box on the outside. There was just no game plan. He was just running all fucking night. Dalton Smith, I just kind of thought he did really well. When he did pin him down, it really unloaded on him and threw in some really hurtful, nice flowing combinations. That did do the job, but I just kind of thought, could he have been a bit quicker on the track down? Towards the end, I kind of think he got a bit frustrated. He was flat-footed because his legs were starting to go, which fucking hell, mine had gone after the third. And I just kind of think, I just think it probably weren't the performance that he wanted, but probably the rounds he needed. You can't get everybody out of there. He's stepping up in levels. You do need those rounds. I think it was an important bout for him. I'd like to see him now, though, really step up into a top 10. I know I keep going on about it, but I really want to see him push now for a top 10 opponent, at least top 5. I want to see him up against somebody heavily ranked. So yeah, go for it.
Do we get to see Azim? What do you think? Do you think that fight can happen, or will it not happen?
I've seen a video of them surfaced with them two backstage after the fight. Them getting asked questions about each other, and Dalton basically said, "Listen, if he carries on winning and I carry on winning, the fight is just going to get bigger in it."
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the step up they both need, to be honest with you.
No.
I think there's better fighters out there who they should be testing themselves with, like the champions. Puello versus Russell Jr. I think for unification bout is being made. So you've got the winner of that. He can go after Sandor Martin. I think Sandor Martin is a good name. He could get, but he needs to step up, like you keep saying, Ricky. You want to see him against these top guys, and 140 at the moment. It's not stacked with great deal. It's got decent names. You've got 4 or 5 decent names there. You need to be fighting one of those guys. Because the champions aren't. You've got Teo Richardson Hitchens. Those two have got fights going on right now.
Yeah.
You've got Puello and Gary Russell.
Yeah.
Those two are fighting each other. So for me, get yourself in position, fight any of those guys whoever's the WBA interim or number one mandatory fight that person, fight anyone out of those rankings that gets you closer to one of those belts.
Well, I've got the top 5 list here on the WBC. So Dalton Smith is ranked number 1, which we all know anyway. But then, like you say, you've got Sandor Martin, you've got Isaac Cruz at number 3, which you know from last week, I really like that fight for him. I think that's a big fight. You've got Jack Catterall at number 4, which is a nice English dust-up. And then at number 5, you've got Lindolfo Delgado. So there's some good opponents here. Isaac Cruz, he's only just recently fought and got a win. So, you know, that's one that could be easy enough. And then there's Jack Cat. He's just been beat. It could, you know, that could be an easy fight to make for a bit of money for him, and also get his name back up again if he fancies it against Dalton, which, you know, he's got the skills to do. So I think Dawson might be a bit too heavy-handed for him and a bit much for him. But Jack Catterall, is not a mug.
You see, that's a big British fight, and I'd love to see it, but I can't see it happen. I'd said to CJ before, once Jack beats Arnold and gets that belt or whatever, it can happen. But I don't know. I think Jack is good enough to get a belt. I also think Dalton is good enough to get a belt. Are those two going to fight each other with nothing on the line? I can't see it happening. I really can't see it. That's the only way I don't see this fight happening, unless one of them gets a belt or they can get a vacant shot or whatever happens. But that fight doesn't happen for nothing. It can't happen for nothing.
No.
Those two are good enough to win a belt, I believe. I also believe at this moment in time, it's a 50-50 fight. I said to CJ a few weeks back, I think Dalton was maybe 1 or 2 fights away from Jack. They both had I think Dalton's had 2 performances since then. I think Jack's had the one. I think it's a perfect fight for him, but I don't think they have it with nothing on the line.
I think the Catterall fight, I know, as you mentioned that before, we said it'd be nice to see Dalton in a real dust up. Hang on, let me get that. I don't think the Catterall fight. I don't know if they blend. There we go. I don't know if it blend very well. You know, styles make fights and all that. Catterall can come across as quite negative at times, and not that he'd be running away like Jermaine or however you pronounce that, but I do feel like it would be very much a front foot and a back foot again. It wouldn't gel in the slightest. But we're at that stage now again where we're saying it about another fighter. He's got to take this step up now, or else that's when people start to lose the interest, and it just becomes another name of he's being looked after, he's being talked about too much. Is he that good? But I do not think for one second that it's Dalton's camp. You know, I think him and his dad Miffer, I think they would take on any challenge that come their way. I really do think it's down to promoters now and management teams to get that going.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I do. Like, the thing is you don't want to see. You don't want to see. I don't want to see anyway. Personally, Dalton Smith's career end up like what Mel Brooks did, where I just thought there was a bit of mismanagement. They didn't make the fights. They didn't get him out there, and then before you know it, he's taking a stupid high risk fight against Golovkin, gets his eye socket broke, and that was the end of him really. And don't get me wrong, although I kind of thought. Yeah, and I kind of think, although Kelbrook laid down the blueprint to beat Golovkin, I just think it ruined that career just for the big payday. And I don't know. I don't want to see Dalton go down that same road. If I'm honest, I want to see him in those big fights in his prime while he's ready. But that's the end of that card. I didn't know if you'd want to cover the Easter card with Ben Whittaker, the big controversial one. It's got a lot of people talking.
Of course, yeah. Let's go for it. Let's
go. So I started off because I only sort of got onto like the Fraser Clark one. I only caught that one just in time. So Fraser Clark, obviously, he stopped Teta in pretty easy fashion. I saw Teta sort of manhandle the referee a little bit, and I just kind of I don't know where his argument came from. He was hurt by that right hand. it was down, and then I know he beat the count, but Fraser Clark were on him again, and I kind of think that sets up a bit of a nice fight between Clark and White, and I quite like that fight as well. So I'll let one of you two take it now.
Yeah. I felt like Fraser was going to stop Tete. I didn't rate Tete at all, to be honest with you. I saw him with White, obviously last time out, and both of them looked terrible, to be quite honest with you. Watching that fight, I just any desire I had to see Dillian White against the top guys just went away watching that fight. As round by round, as that fight went on, you just realize, like, yeah, Dillian, your time is up for me. It looks that way. It looks like you can't hang up there with those guys anymore. But Fraser did what he had to do. He got in there. The moment he landed, you could tell Tete was hurt. He went down, got back up. Clark finished the job. It was good to see. You could see the relief on his face as well. You could see the massive relief on his face when they finally called the stoppage. Fair play to him. It's good to see him back as well, because he's a gentleman of the sport as well. Big face. So it's great to see him back.
I think with Fraser as well, lads, one thing to know is, again, great fella, great servant to the sport, amateur and pro. I mean, I remember watching him for years just as security for Matchroom, you know, for the big fights. He did that for a long time, didn't he? I think he was in ring security when it were Joshua and White.
He was, yeah.
Very... Again, Tete well past his best. I mean, it was a terrible fight watching him in Gibraltar with White, and Fraser made light work of him. It's one of them of when he does get hit again, that's when we will actually see what happens, because you never know if the injury will hold up. You never know if his confidence will be then gone. I mean, you get clocked when you've had a devastating knockout like that. I mean, I do think there's probably a high percentage that's a career-changing one. If someone sticks it on him with power, someone like White, you never know what can happen. So that is when we will get the real test of Fraser Clark again. But yeah, great to see him back to winning ways, and I hope we do get to see him back on his path, back on the right path. You know, he was there for the British title, 2 great fights, and we'll just see. That time will only tell with that one, unfortunately. And I hope his injury does hold up, because he's a great kid, and I would love to see him get a British title.
Who would you like to see Fraser Clark in the ring with next? Who would you like to see him with?
Go on, Ez.
I'll happily see Fraser, for me, get the winner of TKV versus Adelaide. Get the winner of that, because I believe he beats one of those. And then after that, the winner of Fisher versus Allen. I think those two fights, I think it is set up nicely. I think he beats either Jamie or Adelaide. In my opinion, I think he beats either of those two. And then a Dave Allen or Johnny Fisher fight, I think, is a big fight for all. To be honest with you, those 2 events, whatever, you can do a round robin between them, and the losers fight each other. It's still good fights for the British scene. So I generally don't mind. I think if Fraser can clear out the British scene and concentrate on that, and get used to, because like CJ said, is when you get hit again, and you don't want to be going and getting hit by them big boys at that upper level, and then your career's done. No. You might as well see what you can do, because like I said, the big fights, it's not nothing fights. A fight against TKB, a fight against Adelaide is a big fight. You go into you're gonna get eyes on it. You know what I mean? A fight against Dave Allen or Johnny Fisher, big fight. So it's not as if you're not going world level and not fighting any significant fights. You are. You've got two very good fights there lined up for you if you can win.
Sage?
Yeah. You never know. Again, we've got so much talent in the British heavyweight scene. Sorry, if all you can hear is dogs, someone's doing work outside. So they're just going mad in this house. If that's all everyone can hear, I don't know if you can hear that. The class we've got at British level, and even running up to British level, is a bit crazy. Fraser, you see, I would have said before, if we'd have gone past before Dave Allen and Johnny Fisher fight, I don't think many people expected Dave Allen to do what he did to Johnny Fisher. I would have said Johnny Fisher was a cut above the lot of them. And then obviously he got a bit of a bring back to reality with Dave Allen turning up. Dave Allen boxed Fraser, didn't he, a while back? That was a terrible fight. Absolute terrible fight. Then was it all the low blows and things like that. The one I'm least looking forward to is the TKV and David Adelaide rematch, really, because it was just poor. I mean, everyone knows I'm a massive fan of TKV now. No,
after it
again,
I heard Big Eric sent him down.
He came to the gym and he asked me to jump, and I said, "How high, Mr. TKV? How high?" There's just there's so much talent in the British domestic scene, and I do hope it's like you say, Eric. I do hope they do just keep bouncing off each other and round robining because there's so many great fights to be made. Again, we've just got to wait until he gets hit, and fingers crossed, it's an injury that's done. It's not going to come back to haunt him. Which fight are we picking on next, lads?
There's a fight on there. There's a fight on there before we go to Sam Egerton. Did you see the Goldsmith versus is it Troy Coleman versus thingy Goldsmith?
Bradley Goldsmith.
Yeah,
Bradley Goldsmith.
Did you see the fight?
No.
I've seen the highlights. I didn't actually see the fight.
I'll just touch on that fight quickly. This fight was crazy because obviously Coleman going in as the champion, going in as a champion, Goldsmith for 6 rounds. Goldsmith looked very good. I think he won just about every round in the 6th round. Goldsmith was laying into Coleman. I think if it was Howard Foster, the fight would have been stopped. To be quite honest with you, it would have definitely been stopped if it were Howard Foster. But Goldsmith ended up, Bradley Goldsmith ended up punching himself out. And right at the end of I wanted to speak on this just because of the refereeing decisions here. Right at the end of the 6th round, I think Goldsmith goes to tell the ref that he's getting hit behind the head. And right on the bell, I'm not kidding you, right on the bell, Coleman lands an uppercut, which drops Bradley. He drops him. The referee calls no knockdown. He calls no. This is how crazy. The referee calls no knockdown, sends him to the corner, and then obviously the next round comes on, and he just carries on like nothing's happened. What I don't get is it him on the bell? I think it's on the bell. But if you're gonna say it's a shot after the bell, he should have given Bradley Goldsmith time to recover, because he got Dominic Ingle had to get in the ring and pick him up to drag him to his stool at the end of the 6th round. He was that hurt, but the referee called no knockdown and just let it. If there's no knockdown, surely it's a shot after the bell.
It's down to refereeing again, isn't it?
It is, because you have 2 decisions to make. It's either a knockdown or it's a shot after the bell. So you either give the guy time to recover, extra time to recover because it's a shot after the bell, or you start counting. But he did neither. He literally just went no knockdown as if it was a slip. He literally did it as if it was a slip. But if you get a chance to watch the highlights, the uppercut he lands is flush, and he drops him, and then in the very next round he ends up taking him out because Bradley Goldsmith can't defend himself, and the referee eventually jumping in.
One just before we jump onto Sam. One just before we jump on to Sam Egerton, which was a great fight, by the way, and we all said we'd wish to call hope he winds back the clock, and it was a typical Sam Egerton fight, is Mark Jeffers, right? Mark Jeffers is a monster, okay? What are we going to do with Mark Jeffers? Because he's not getting the limelight he deserves. He's not getting the big fights he deserves. He's wanting the Callum Smith fight.
Yeah. It's Callum Simpson, isn't it? It's Callum Simpson.
Callum Simpson, mate. Yeah, Callum Simpson. He's wanting the Callum Simpson fight. And, he's destroying everyone they put in front of him.
Yeah, the performance I wrote down on my notes when I was watching that fight, that he seemed very relaxed. His shots were really fluent, how he throws his shots. I liked his footwork. He went to the body really well. As well, the uppercut he landed. I think he a jab to the body, uppercut straight down the middle. It was a beautiful shot. But yeah, he looks good. I've not seen too much about him. CJ, you obviously know more about him than I do. I don't know how much you know about him, Ricky.
No, again, like I said, I didn't tune in until the Fraser Clark fight, and no, I've heard I have heard of him like for chasing the Callum fight, because I'm quite a big fan of Callum Simpson. But I didn't really know who he were. I didn't really delve too much into him. So I won't be like the right person to comment on it. Does he beat Callum? CJ, what do you think? What his chances are if he got a Callum shot after the Zucho? What would be? Do you think he puts up a good fight?
I mean, that's for him. I think he puts up a good fight. I mean, it's a bold statement to say if he beats him. Callum's probably boxed a better caliber of opponents, but I remember back from the amateurs, he's certainly, I feel like he's just coming to that point in his career where he's finding his power and he's sitting down on his punches. Irf said it perfectly. He looks calm under pressure at the minute. He looks calm in what he's doing. He's got his game plans nailed on. Yeah. He's hurting people in sparring. I mean, yeah, he boxed Chile. He boxed Zach Chile. Got the win. He stopped Johnston. He beat Quarty not long since and stopped him. I mean, Quarty was unbeaten in 10, I think, coming into it. So, I mean, he's doing everything right. Lara, who we boxed at the weekend, up and down record, but he was coming off 2 stoppage wins. So he is boxing dangerous opponents and coming okay. Is there a person to box before Simpson? Is that what we go for, maybe?
Yeah.
Is there a person that we see in boxing and then we think, right, now's the time?
Yeah, because I mean, looking at his record, he's got 20 wins on his record. That's 20 wins on his record, but he had a 10-round fight last year in his previous contest, but then he's gone to a 6-round prelim fight. So yeah, maybe you're kind of right. Maybe he's not sort of getting the limelight he deserves, or he's not getting the fights. Is he not as marketable as the likes of Callum Simpson, and that's why they're struggling? Might be a bit of where he's chasing like what Junior Whitty used to do with Ricky Hatton a little bit, where he was good, he was very good with it, but he just didn't have that marketing ability of getting that fight with Ricky Hatton, because even though people wanted to see it, it didn't end up being worth it for Ricky. So maybe it could be one of those where, you know, when Callum Simpson steps up, if Jeffers keeps on winning, getting those fights, you know, maybe get over that British title after Simpson's potentially vacated it for another bout, and maybe meet him somewhere as they start reaching the pinnacle of their careers. I do think, looking at it and doing that only due to like looking records wise, I do think Simpson is maybe one level above currently. So would he want to go down and risk that fight now, especially if it's not, like, say, if we're struggling to build Jeffers up? Is the risk outweighing the reward for Callum with that fight? You know, when Callum's going for European, I mean, he's got a big test against Zucho anyway. So yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Maybe we put Jeffers against Zucho afterwards, and then we see. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he dismantles Zucho better than Simpson does, or whatever. But yeah, I just thought that was worth a shout, because I don't think he does have a massive fan base. I don't think he sells like Callum does, but he's a name who's knocking on the door and he's doing everything right in his own way. So big shout out to Jeffers. He's a nice fella, I've met him. He's
Yeah,
20
he's
and
20
0,
and 0,
yeah.
so he's got a good record. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if it's, do you know what I mean? You can get beat. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very good record. Like I say, he's got Zach Chelly on there. He's just stopped that Ricardo Lara. He's got Quarty, Johnston, Brown. So he's got some names on there, and a lot of these are undefeated fighters as well. So yeah, he's definitely one to look out for in the future. And like you say, if we can ever get him some limelight on him, we will. But yeah, do you want to move on, or is there anything else you want to cover?
No, ready for the main event.
Yeah. So it'll be Sam Eggington and Lee Cutler for the next bout. I was talking to, I think it was you, Eric, at the time, because I just started scoring it on my notepad. Now at first I thought I had it as a draw, but my shit mass actually had Lee Cutler up by 1 round. I liked the fight. I thought it was a really good fight. I kind of thought the rounds were very close. I don't think they were as wide as what the judges scored it, but like what we chatted about was it depends on what work you're preferring at that time when it comes to these tight rounds. And, you know, if the judges like that pressure or if they like the boxing, it's going to be scored pretty high no matter what. I thought both fighters did really well, and I thought it were gelling up quite nicely. I did think Eggington was getting tired though, towards that end bit. You know, I did think he was beginning to tell. And then Cutler may have took later rounds pretty convincingly, and that might have changed the story a little bit. But all in all, I kind of think whoever won that fight deserved to win it. I think the viewers verdict had it a draw at 75-75. I had it 1 point between them, so I thought it was a good old scrap, really.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was watching it. I thought, like CJ said earlier, we wanted to see Eggington if he could roll back the years and be the same exciting Sam Eggington. And yeah, he said that's what he does. He says, I don't even believe I'm going to win fights. I just turn up and fight. And
typical bummy lad, isn't he?
Yeah, you could tell that's what he does. And you know what I mean, Sam Eggington at this point he's a veteran of the game. I enjoy watching him fighting. He's in fights where he's competitive. He's not one of those that it reminds me a bit like Del Boy. He's in fights where you just think, wow, why are you still fighting? But you put him in there and he makes you realize this is why he's still fighting. He's still got it at the level he's fighting at, and the guys he's fighting, he can still hang in there with them. And it was a good performance. It was an all-action fight. Both fighters, I thought, did really well. Really good fight. I think, like Ricky, like you said, Sam was tiring, but the cuts, Sam, his face was just cut up. And I think the first one was an accidental elbow, or was it headbutt elbow? The first one. I think the second one was a punch, but I think the referee just stopped it because his face was a mess all in all.
Yeah, it was a mess.
It was a bit of a mess, but yeah, fair play to Sam Eggington. Still got it, still doing bits. I don't know. I just think, you know what I mean, he's the ultimate gatekeeper. I'd say Sam Eggington. If you can get past him, you might do something in this sport.
Well, I've got something for you. I've not got something for you, but I've got something I like in my head after. Obviously, I'll let CJ break it down what he thought, but I've got like a fight in my head that I'd like to see him in next anyway.
Go on then.
I think Cutler and Cutler's team thought it was going to be a much easier fight, personally. I mean, he came into it confident. I mean, I think he'd come off the win off Stephen McKenna, if I'm right there. He'll have been massively confident going into this fight. You see, I think he could have done a lot more, Cutler. I think his face told that picture at the end as well. I think there was times in there where he was doing the right things and times that he should have done more. When Eggington comes on strong with his flurries, they're sometimes wild, they're sometimes not even scoring. It seemed like Cutler was certainly scoring back, but only sort of single punches in certain rounds, and that's not good enough. You know, you've really got to throw it all in. When you're in there with someone like Sam Eggington, ERF just said then he's a Del Boy. He's going to come at you with everything in the kitchen sink. Don't just hope that you're going to stop him or put him back, because he's not going to go on back foot unless he's hurting. I mean, Sam Eggington spent half of his career cut to death and bruised and bloody, and he just keeps going forward until he is hurt. So for Cutler to just be doing single shots in some rounds, it ain't good enough. It ain't good enough for me. The home advantage, I think better. Obviously for Eggington, that got him going in between rounds with the crowd and stuff like that. But it was good. It was great. It was great to see him come back with something. There were talks about a rematch. I don't know. I don't think there would be. I don't think there's anything going for either of them for that.
No.
And to be honest, I don't know where either of them go from this bout. Eggington's another high risk, low reward. And as for Cutler, I think that's really going to damage him. So I'm not sure where he goes from there.
I've been checking out the rankings and everything today just to see them all updated on that. Eggington is like rated now like 18th with the WBC, and the name I kind of saw down at 13th was Josh Kelly, and I quite if I'm Josh Kelly after having that Ishmael Davis fight and having the following that Eggington's got, obviously if I'm Josh Kelly, I'd be like thinking I could beat this guy. Yeah? Obviously, Eggington, he adds a lot of pressure. He's an hard old bastard, isn't he? Really, but I think if I'm Josh Kelly and I've got the flair and I've got the confidence and boxing ability that I have, it's a good name to be like to try and redeem yourself, especially against the older fighter. I quite like Kelly versus Eggington. I don't know how you guys will feel about that, but it is probably low reward, as you said, with Kelly, but I don't really see what Kelly's doing. He's not exactly making many moves, and I think it's a good payday for him, really, against the likes of Eggington.
That's the only thing is what I don't know what Kelly gains from it. I don't know if it's worth the risk. Like you said, it's high risk, low reward, and it really is a low reward. And I don't know if it's worth the risk because Sam's style, everything about him is Kelly's kryptonite. Everything about him is Kelly's kryptonite. A fighter that throws in combinations, non-stop, relentless, front foot, doesn't mind getting hit, doesn't really get dropped like that. He has got a chin. He can get hurt, but Kelly can't punch. So for me, it's a tough night's work. And when you get through him, all you're gonna get is, you had a tough night against Sam Eggington, who shouldn't really be at the level you say you are. I don't know how much credit he gets for that. For Sam Eggington, I think Sam Eggington jumps at that opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for him. I don't know. Josh Kelly, like you said, I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know what's happening.
That's what I mean. It's an easy career to make because Eggington will fight anyone.
Yeah, I think it's a fight that could be made. I don't know whether Kelly's team takes it. I think who's he with now, Josh Kelly? Who's he with?
Adam. I don't know what promotion he's with.
Is he still with Adam Booth?
He's with Adam Booth as a trainer. Yeah, he's always
Adam Booth. Adam Booth. They ain't taking that fight.
The thing is, it's like for me, it was disappointing. It wasn't disappointing, but he weren't great. He didn't look great against Davis, and I just kind of think he needs a good test, and he needs a good grit test. And I think Eggington caused him a lot of trouble. The reward, probably it does outweigh the risk. The risk outweighs the reward, but I do think it's a good fight. Like on paper, it's a good fight. That sells tickets as well. That fight.
I think he needs a fight like that for his mental, just to show that he can go through the fire and do it. Because everyone knows that now, when you fight Josh Kelly, you put pressure on him. That's it. Put pressure on him. He's going to struggle because he doesn't let his hands go unless he's got space.
What do you reckon, Siege?
I can't see it happening. I like that fight. I like when you've pulled that out of the air, mate. The magic. Kelly's a funny one, and he's never lived up. He's had a lot of hype. He was always hyped up, pretty boy. And when he stepped up, he got hurt. They say Eggington had snapped that fight in a heartbeat. He'd love that fight. I can't see Kelly taking it. I think they're very careful with who they do match Kelly with. I think Ishmael was a bit of a banana skin for him, wasn't he? And Ishmael, he really can fight. I hope Ishmael has a Josh Padley effect and does actually get some decent camps behind him now and comes back and gets given his fair shots because he's a brilliant fighter. But for Kelly, I really don't know what the future does hold for him because you don't know what Kelly you're going to get on the night. That's the problem. And I suppose that's the same with Egerton now, but it's because Egerton's on the decline, not because he doesn't turn up. He's just aging as a fighter. I mean, Egerton must have more miles on his clock than an old Toyota. Do you know what I mean? He really has been around the block 100 times. But if it was to happen, I'd love to watch it. But a possible upset from Egerton. We'll have to squeeze that main event in, lads.
I know, yeah, we'll have to squeeze it in.
Yeah. We'll squeeze the main event in. We've got. I think there's only one person on this panel who chose right on this one, and I'm going to take all the praise for it.
We went with our hearts. We went with Missy. We went with the Smithfield lad.
This fight. Ricky, you go first. You give us your thoughts.
Yeah. All right then. So obviously in the run up, obviously I know like we had all the mind games. That was the only bit of promotional deal like media it got for me were the 10s and the 12s. Now it didn't really fucking matter anyway. But all the way through the fight, all the way through the media and the promotion, Liam Cameron were cool as a cucumber all the way through it. Nerves of steel. The fight itself, I'm very disappointed. Like. I kind of knew, like, I thought, like, Whittaker could start off how he did the first fight, strong, do you know what I mean? Fast, setting traps, which is what he did that very well in that fight, in this latest fight anyway. His hand speed, his shot selection was very good. I just thought Liam Cameron were trying the same tactics, which is what I worried about. Just would he change anything up? Coming over, trying to come over that big right hand again through his guard. I just thought the angles, the setting of the traps was too much for Cameron on the night. He was working that body. He was prodding that jab out. He realised that every time Liam set out that jab, he dropped his hand down, and that once Cameron like threw the jab, Whittaker slipped over the top, straight on the temple, and that was his legs gone. Now the stoppage it sent, which has caused a lot of controversy. The thing I had for me, obviously, when I've been asked about it, was he got hit. He was very hurt. He wasn't throwing back, and he shelled up and he leant forward on the ropes, and he was doing this. So I just kind of think, I know the standing 8 counts, and Cameron could have took a knee as an experience. He's been beaten 6 times before. Did Howard Foster have that much of an option? Now I know only the second round, but he was hurt and he weren't throwing back. He wasn't throwing. I've seen Fowler calling it a fix. I've seen Froch giving his 2 pence, even though fucking Howard Foster bailed him out in first growth fight. I don't think he got that decision too far wrong personally, but obviously, as you say,
nah, you know what? He got it wrong because it's Howard. Ever forgive him for that first Froch Gross fight. I'll never forgive him for that. I will never ever forgive him for that.
I spoke to him in a Tesco after that fight. I saw him in spot with Tesco once, and I've messaged him a few times on Facebook and social medias before, and he was getting death threats for that, and I just kind of think, I know like people get emotional, and Carl Fox was getting spat at, weren't he? But fucking hell, sometimes they just make a moment that there's that one single moment in that entire fight where sometimes human error is a real thing, and I just think you see it in football all the fucking time, especially in League 2. Like sometimes the momentum, the adrenaline, sometimes you just make a decision and it's not always the correct one. But I do think with the Whittaker, it was maybe the correct one.
For me, I tweeted out. I can't remember. I'm not sure. I tweeted out saying, basically saying that it was a bad stoppage. Also, I can see why he did it.
Yeah.
Cameron and his team can't complain because one, you was hurt. Two, you went straight back to the ropes. Like you went to cover up against the ropes. Like you said, you wasn't throwing back. I think where Howard Foster jumped into early was the fact that although Ben was throwing, like we could all see a lot of the shots was hitting gloves. Like you are close to you could see the shots was hitting gloves.
Yeah, there were.
Whether Howard Foster let it go for another 10 to 15 seconds, I think the stoppage was coming. It was one of them where you can cry and say, oh yeah, it was an early stoppage, but let's be honest, 15 seconds later, it would have been a stoppage. It would have been a warranted stoppage because Ben wasn't going to stop throwing, and Cameron didn't look like he wanted to throw in them moments. He didn't look remotely like he wanted to throw. So as much as I've got an issue with Howard Foster, I don't really have an issue with that stoppage, because the fight was going to end up the way it was going to end up because Cameron hadn't recovered at all from the first shot. He didn't recover. Well,
I like Howard Foster, by the way. I think he's done some bad decisions. I get that. He actually commented on my corner work the other week and said I was good in away corner. So I've got to say cheers for that, Howard.
At the end of the day, though, what referee ain't made a wrong call?
No. We want to have a good conversation about referees. That shows how many get it wrong. How many have bad decisions? It's not just Howard Foster. It just seems that when you've made a big one like Howard Foster, whatever decision you make, if there's any there's a remotely a chance of saying, "Oh, I think that was too soon." Like me, I've still got it in my head that Frotch Groves won fight. I'll never forget it. So no matter how close I think, I'm like, yeah, bad decision. Because
what I will say from it is not necessarily just this fight. My opinion, I think what won it over for me was that Liam didn't challenge it. You know, he didn't complain. He didn't throw his hands in the air. He didn't look worried. He didn't say fuck all, really. That sort of sealed it for me. Initially, I was a bit like, where was the standing 8, or why didn't Cameron take a knee? That's inexperience, which he should have. But the only thing I can say is that I did part of my refereeing course in amateurs, and I know obviously that's a different ball game, pros to amateurs. But one thing that they do cement into you is that it's split second decision you've got to make. If you feel like you've seen something that's worrying in them split seconds, and don't forget the referee's got the best seat in the house. He is really eye contact with any fighter in there who could be getting hurt. I would always rather see a fighter get stopped 10 seconds early than 10 seconds late, because one punch could change a fight dramatically. That right cross that landed, he was hurt. He was definitely hurt. The legs buckled or stiffened or leant forward. So something I saw instantly with the legs. And again, he didn't complain from it. But you're right, because of decisions that he has made, Howard, it seems to stick with you, doesn't it, at times?
Yeah,
and you worry, or you pick it up quicker. But again, if I would always rather see a fighter get stopped too early than too late. That's how I'll end it with that one. Because you never do know. Whitaker was going to hurt Cameron. There was the part of me that thought, was he starting slow as usual, like he did in the last fight? But he just seemed too big, too strong. The game plan had changed, and Liam Cameron's hadn't changed, and that's also that one.
I think a lot of people overlooked the fact that he changed trainers as well. Whitaker changed trainers to Andy Lee. Whitaker more or less did what I thought he would do. I said what he needed to do was forget about the power shots and focus on landing, precision shots. Just keep the shots coming, keep Cameron moving, keep him thinking about something. Make sure he's always thinking, and use your reflexes. And a lot. I think he was throwing 3-4 shot combinations, but there was nothing on him. There was nothing on the shots. It was just purely landing shots, just cuffing shots, just placing the shots in there, making sure Liam felt that the shots were coming, the shots were there. And then, like you said, CJ, he just timed him. He timed him with one big shot, and that was it. And Ben was in kill mode the moment Cameron's legs buckled. Before we go, I just want to touch on, what did you make of? Obviously, you two are big Cameron fans. I like Cameron as well. But what did you make of Whittaker's post fight when he'd won? He celebrated. We'll call it celebration because you two are football fans. Is it a bit to do with nothing, or like is there an issue? Is there? Did you see it as disrespect, or is it just celebration?
Adrenaline, just absolutely buzzing.
You think it's just adrenaline?
Yeah, I just think he faced a lot of adversity, didn't he? He got getting some right hammer. They'd have been hammering him. I just kind of think, fuck it, you score a goal, you celebrate, don't you? So he got the win. Why not? It adds a bit more flavour to it. And to be fair, I've seen him go backstage, and he does shake hands with Cameron's corner, and I think he does sort of apologise as well. And they do all shake hands and shit. So I don't think there were any serious animosity towards it. I just think it was just pure adrenaline.
CJ?
Leeds United got promoted yesterday, lads. Oh, sorry, that's not what last minute.
Listen, we'll be champions soon. You Reds.
Go on.
6 easy points next season.
He lost. My mum said that 6 easy points for Leeds next season.
Yeah, you said that last time, and that lasted 2 minutes, and you lot were crying. We were 2-0 up inside 2 minutes.
I think Ricky's right. There was always going to be a lot of adrenaline either side with whatever decision happened. But he's milked it. He's ridden it. You know, he's wanting people to now feel sorry for him. I think he's been a tit. I think he's been a tit in the build-up. I mean, the gloves are off, and he won't answering questions and things like that. I think he's just been a proper tit with everything. I don't feel sorry for him
to the fight
at all. I still think he chucked himself out of the ring, like wrestling style.
It did, yeah, it did. It did. It didn't hurt his foot. It didn't hurt his foot in that first fight.
It's not fooling me, any of the tears and no, it really isn't. There's no other words for it. It was a tit. It was a tit throughout it.
Where do you think? Obviously, we're gonna have to wrap up soon, aren't we? But where do you think he goes next? Like, what would you like to see him do? I like Zach Parker, me.
Yeah, I'll just say this before
Acting school.
The whole celebration thing, yeah, I don't know what's up with boxing fans here, because when there's nothing happening and there's no animosity and these press conferences and these post matches are boring, we're like, where's the caricaturing people? I'm not being funny. If I had gone through and people saying that I chucked myself over the ropes, people still think I chucked myself over the ropes, I faked an injury, the whole team, Lee and had a wheelchair in the back with a boot. He tweeted before the fight, bro's been getting pelters. I don't care who you are. If you stop him in 2 rounds, their corner is the first place he's going to celebrate. Fair play to him on that. Listen, the whole crying thing and wanting people to feel sorry for you, you can't play the bad guy and then cry. No. You can't play the bad guy and then cry. That's what I will stand on. You just can't do that.
I've done that all my life.
the celebration in that I've got no issue with. I think fighters need personalities. The best personalities in the game has always been the ones who end up disrespecting their opponent or their opponent's team. That's why, like, you can bring up so many that we know because it's come from disrespect, and it's a fight game. We can't expect fighters to click this switch or flick this switch of, oh, I'm a warrior and I'm here to fight, and the moment the fight's over, you expect them to flick it and not have that animosity towards people. I think it's weird. The public, I think boxing fans, mainly the media as well, how I didn't like was it who was it on thing? I didn't like how he phrased it, saying, "Did you spit at him?" Like you knew full well he didn't spit on him. You knew full well, like you're just trying to paint a narrative there, and I think, but Ben can't be crying in post-fight saying that he's been bullied and stuff. Bro, you came in humiliating people, tapping them on top of the head and stuff, and that's why you was loved. So, listen, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You can't start crying when people are doing to you what you was doing to others. You went viral on another man's head. Whilst you were getting all these likes and that, this guy had to see himself get thumped on top of the head like he was in the Flintstones.
Fuck yeah.
So you know, like CJ said, I'm not here for the pity me. I really aren't here for the pity me thing, but also I think, but the panelists and stuff were making a bit of a bigger deal of him celebrating a win than it needed to be.
Yeah,
he deserved an Oscar. He deserved an Oscar for them tears afterwards, more than he did appreciation for that win. Honestly, when I saw them tears coming out about how hard it's been for him the past 6 months, I wasn't sure if like Tom Hanks were going to come out with an Oscar for him, and everyone going to be like, "Shut up, go away, see you later."
CJ's opinions is CJ's opinions. It's not it's not the opinions of the other panelists.
My opinions are iBoxingHub final.
Right, boys. It was that was a good first review show. Our show will be hopefully it's going to be Monday night review shows, and our podcast show where we talk everything boxing will be on the Thursday night as usual. You will be seeing more of the three Yorkshire boys. So yeah.
Should we call it like the? Should we call it the 3-cap review or something like that?
The what?
The 3-cap review, because we all wear them, because we haven't got much wind between us.
Because we're all bald as fuck.
I like that. I like that. You know what? I've had my hair done. But still. No, it's been a good one, boys. We will see everyone on Thursday. I've just said that and I still forgot what I was saying.
Yeah.
On Thursday.
The only thing we need to touch on quickly is thank you to everybody that took part in the boxing league. And shout out to Connor for finishing with the most points.
Yeah,
Eric will kick himself now because he fucked himself up.
Yeah, it was a typo. The internet, I don't know, GPT knew I was going to win, so they deleted my Warrington pick.
And CJ will be on the next league.
Yeah,
CJ.
Oh well, yeah. I've once I get my little caravan of love started, I'll be away then, boys. There'll be no stopping me.
Right, boys. I'll see you Saturday. Saturday?
Why did I
say Saturday? I won't see you Saturday. I'll see you
Thursday, boys.
See you Thursday.
It's another band. All the Muslim cars now, with your bag it up. Light up my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flips me a bag it up. So, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.